Good morning, Jake. We've
Hey,
got a
Mike.
lot to talk. We've got a lot to talk about today. I'm pretty excited. We're knocking on the door of our conference, our first
Yeah.
disruption conference. And can you take a second and enlighten the audience on what's going on and then how to be a part of that?
Yeah, 100%, man. So here's the deal, guys. We have a conference coming up. It is coming up this weekend, Saturday, August 10th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, because Mountain Standard Time is the only time that really matters. We have got a killer. Mike's going to show. He's like, no. So we've got a killer lineup for you guys. We've got like 14 speakers from all across the world that are coming in to talk about their tips, tricks, tactics, hacks, everything they're doing that brought them from where they were to where they are, how they were disruptive in the industry. It's going to be super cool. We're really stoked about it. We've got some great moderators. So here's the deal. This upper corner up here, right above Mike's head, you can see that QR code. That is how you register for the conference. That's the one. Register for the conference. It's free to attend if you want to attend it live all day. If you guys want to watch the recordings, right below my head, that's the subscribe to the show button. This is where you get to be part of the community. This is where you get the bonus calls. This is where you get the extra lives. This is where you get the extra shows, full VIP experience on the backside, and every single portion of every single subscription goes to Boys and Girls Club and Wounded Warriors right off the top, so you can know that you're just giving back. And those are a couple disruptive organizations that we love that are growing amazingly. So that's the pitch for the morning, and that's what you guys need to know. August 10th this weekend. Get registered, subscribe to the show. So there you go. There's your pitch for the day. Yeah, what do you got, man?
What's the website there that they go to?
Website to go to is total-disruption.com if you want to go straight to the website. And if you don't feel like typing, click the QR code. It takes you there too.
There you go. So thanks, Jake. So since you're on such a roll this morning, you and I were having this conversation, and today's show topic, we're going to talk about how to back out of when you're already making a bad decision. And you were telling me this killer story, and we've all been there. So I feel like it's going to be super relatable. And just to frame it up, if you guys, the audience, have ever been in a situation where you make a mistake and in real time you're trying to correct it, and all of a sudden you feel like you're in a mud bog and you keep hitting the gas pedal and the vehicle's not moving forward and you're panicking, and then you're completely going crazy trying to figure out how to solve that problem. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about how that translates to business, how that translates to life, and how to be a little disruptive in handling. So, dude, go with the story. Let's hear it. I can't wait.
Yeah, so everybody at this point knows I live kind of out in the sticks, right? I live like middle geographic of Wyoming. We've got 3 reservoirs around them. One of them is one of the most popular reservoirs to come and recreate in the state. A lot of people from Colorado come up here. So a couple weekends back, this is where I was telling Michael this story because I'm like, I cannot believe what would it have taken to follow this decision-making process, and that's what stemmed to this. So first of all, $250,000 wakeboard boat. They're expensive, man. They take some bucks. They take some work to get a hold of. $250,000 wakeboard boat, shallow water. Somehow, dude manages to roll it over. This is flat water. There was no wind. There was no issue. I don't know what he did. Bunch of people on the boat turned the boat over upside down in shallow water, such that the wakeboard tower buried in the mud, and the boat is just stuck upside down. You just see this hull sticking out of the water. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. However, so we don't know what got him there, but this is where it went sideways. So dude decides, I'm close enough to shore. He's at 6 foot of water. I don't know exactly how far out it was, but knowing the lake like I know the lake, this is probably somewhere around 100 yards offshore, about 250, 300 feet thereabouts, just because of that. Dude decides to get his truck and get a rope and drive out into the lake to try and hook a rope to the wakeboard boat and turn it back over to save it. Mistake number 1. We get our truck, we drive it into the lake, knowing the mud is Lord knows how deep. So, of course, he buries and swamps the truck. Truck is now completely stuck in the lake. At this point, it should have changed. It didn't. It kept going. So this is the amazing part to me. This guy is a heavy equipment operator. or something else. I'm guessing he's a heavy equipment operator because he happens to have a Caterpillar key in his pocket, sees the state-owned backhoe parked at the campground, realizes he has a key for a backhoe he doesn't own, proceeds to get in the machine, drive it into the lake to try to save his truck, buries the state-owned machine, right? And then somehow during all, now the tow truck driver shows up and says, no, you and the state got to figure this one out. This is going to be like $100,000 mistake in fines and extraction, not to mention damage to vehicles. So like, how do we arrest this? Like, this is where I came to Mike with this from a coaching perspective, because this blew my mind. I've done stupid things before. Let's be honest with this, but I've never done stupid upon stupid upon stupid to just keep it going and try. I don't like you've had these situations. How would you coach us to get off this train? Like of just bad decision making. I mean, what would you say about that, man?
I've been there. I'm actually, if I got to, first of all, let me ask you something. Where were you during this whole thing? Were you just sitting in a boat, or were you just on the side of the lake laughing your butt off, or what?
No, I was local. I saw the aftermath because, like, if I'd have been there, I would have tried to stop it. Like, there's,
I get it. No, you don't get in the way of that.
Possibly be a voyeur and just go, this is going to be great on YouTube.
And my second takeaway is there's one key for all these different backhoes. I'm gonna have to keep that in mind.
You hate to tell that to the general population, but yeah, there's a master key, and somehow this guy had a hold of it.
Poor soul. All right, so I myself have been there. I'm actually pretty good under pressure. So when I see like one of my kids has kind of a, heaven forbid, has like a cut or something that hurt really bad, I'm really calm in thinking about how to, handle the problem. If there's a house emergency or something, for some reason, for me, time slows down. For people that, obviously this gentleman, whatever state of mind he was in or she was in, they didn't slow it down for a second and take a deep breath. You've got to look at this from a perspective that sometimes a problem is just bigger than your mind at the moment. And you've got to force pause for a second, unless there's a life-threatening situation. And even if there's a life-threatening situation, first responders are always taught to go in cautiously because they don't want to compromise their own safety.
You don't want to become
rule one from a coaching perspective is make sure your next decision has sure footing. You like what I did there? Sure footing. You saw that, right? I'm so clever. So in this case, the guy flips this, what is it, wakeboard you said or something?
Yeah, wakeboard boat.
Wakeboard boat, time out. The guy thinks he's going to drive his truck into 6 feet of water. He probably should have done a little water test and tried to figure that out first. If it didn't work, the guy's clearly not pausing his mind. He is now got ego involved, and no matter what the cost, probably a little bit of anger, probably a little bit of, I'm better than this situation. These are all the same factors, no matter what the problem is. I can do it my way, quickly, rapidly. I've got a safe face. We've all been there. Got to calm down, first of all. Make sure you have store footing. And then you've got options. There's option one. Hey, call somebody that's a professional person out on the lake. I don't care what the cost is. The boat is already in the water. It's not going to get any more in the water. Secondly, now the guy's out of a vehicle. He can't compromise the vehicle for his A to B driving around. Thirdly, he's compromising somebody else's equipment. And then lastly, now he's in legal and financial trouble because of this bad decision. So sure footing, calm decision-making, options, and then quick execution. You've got to take ego out of it. If you feel angry or embarrassed or something happened, you want to right the wrong, you got to slow down. You can't take public persona into account right there, meaning you look stupid for flipping your boat and you're trying to erase the problem.
Yeah. So I'm going to back up and unpack something you said right there.
Okay.
You said you got to take ego out of it. And I think about this from a business perspective of that ego piece. Like historically for you, and like you're the king of the pause, like you've got it dialed in the habits of where you're going. You know that that's the thing. How do you go? How do you do it? How do you take ego out of it? Because like as a business professional, a business owner, you put yourself on this pedestal, and it feels like if you were to take your ego out of it, you'd somehow fail. Right? There's a fear there. How have you done it in the past?
Well, I'm going to give you, I'll give you a great example. Okay. And this is a boneheaded move on my part. And an oversight that almost cost me several $1,000s, if not more, and a potentially, big deal. Going back to where this guy, this scenario we were just talking about, my kids had a trampoline in the backyard. I had the thing buried. The guy that cuts my lawn had moved the trampoline a little bit to try to get the weed whacker around it. Well, I was out of town. Storm comes, blows the trampoline into my neighbor's yard. Okay. The trampoline hits the ground, collapses. A spring must have shot out and damaged his siding. Now, my ego was like, oh my God, I have to cancel my day. I have to go back home. I have to make my neighbor whole. I started calling my neighbor, apologizing profusely. It could have been worse, right? It could have been a lot worse. Window could have broken, house could have collapsed, the trampoline could have went into someone's house physically. I mean, it could have been a lot of stuff happening. Well, the second I got my wits about me because I was out of town, I said, okay, look, I called my neighbor, said, hey, I will handle it. I'm out of town. I apologize. I got to take a look. I'm sorry if there's anything, damage, because I didn't see any damage. He didn't even call me. I called him. The second I got home, before I got home, I called the guy that does my lawn. I said, hey, do you want to make $50? You want to go take apart this trampoline, get it out of the yard? He couldn't do it. I called my other guy who was a scrap guy. He couldn't do it at that time. So what I did was I got home, I got clear. I said, okay, got to make my neighbor whole. I can't worry about what my next door neighbor thinks about how poorly I anchored my trampoline. I can't worry about the across the street neighbor talking to me about how poorly I anchored my trampoline. The only thing I can do is swallow the ego and the pride of, hey, you messed up, man, and just go make it right. So I immediately took apart the trampoline, got it out of the yard, called the siding guy, had it all worked out. And within 4 days later, the whole problem was resolved methodically. In my brain, I was popping off going, man, the Tyvek, which is the barrier underneath the side of the scam, which is going to cost me money. I kept thinking about the worst case scenario. Over time, as you mature, you learn, calm down. Nothing's the end of the world. If you've made a mistake, you need to make it correct. You can correct it using probable steps, and you can only worry about what you can control. Had I have gone off the deep end and really been ego-driven, canceled my entire day, lost money, lost time, stressed out, worried myself, you can't do it. So from a coaching standpoint, you've got to work on holding back your emotion. You've got to work on holding back the catastrophic feel of what's happening to you. That takes practice. You can artificially create scenarios in your head where something happens, you feel that pressure, and then you work through solutions. That's a tactic I've used in the past. I've also had a life history of making boneheaded decisions like that inadvertently, so I've learned from my mistakes. That's second. You could also use other people's examples, people that have lost businesses, gone broke, been in jail, turned their lives around. YouTube's full of people like that. You can say, wow, okay, there's a way through everything no matter what. And even though the way through might not be comfortable, everything changes over time. And that's the other thing I wanted to kind of touch on today about this. I can't make my neighbor's house whole again. Okay. The siding is different color. The guys had to go around to the side, take a piece off. So in a more visible area, my neighbor, when he looks at his house driving up now, everything's fine, right? Everything changes. Nothing can completely go back to where it was. That's just going to be how it is. If you've wrecked a wakeboard, that boat is compromised. That thing is not going to be the same. As a mature person, we have to be able to let go, practice letting go, detach from the process, focus on the outcome, and understand all things change all the time. So, from a coaching standpoint, it's the perspective shift. It is practicing that in multiple scenarios where I put myself in that position a couple times, and I also learn from my mistakes.
Mhm.
Now, how does that sound to you as an answer to your question? Or does that sound like I'm talking in coach speak?
Well, but I speak coach, so of course I'm going to hear it, and that's what the audience needs to hear. It's a process. It is practice. We talk about that all the time. Every professional athlete ever has to practice. Like, I don't care if you're a baseball guy, you're a basketball guy, you're a football guy. If you're a wide receiver and you're a professional wide receiver, guess what? You've run that same pattern 500 million times, and you're going to do it again tomorrow. Doesn't matter how good you are. You aren't naturally that good. Everybody has a ceiling. Like, your natural abilities right here, period. You're this good. And this is one of those spaces that we always talk about, that ceiling of achievement. You hear that ceiling of achievement, or glass ceiling. No, that's the ceiling of your natural ability. What gets you beyond that is the critical thinking skills, the process to detach yourself and ask the critical questions to be able to move forward. And I want to leave you guys with this today. I know we're getting here close on time. You mentioned time several times, and I got to thinking about that as you said it. It's not a super well-known quote, but I've heard it a lot of times, is a guy named by the name of Gary Keller. You probably heard of him. He's got a bucket load of money and a huge real estate agency. He has said frequently, and I've heard it, the decision you make today can be anywhere you want to be in 5 years. So 5 years. So any decision you make today shows up 5 years from now. So think about this. A decision you made 5 years ago put you watching this show today. It did. So good or bad. So when you go down this nightmare road, this is where you got to think about it. All right, 5 years from now, when I make this decision to go to compound effect, do stupid upon stupid upon stupid, and we can just call it that. What's that going to do to me 5 years from now? Not what's happening right now. So when you say you got to detach yourself, take it extreme. What's it going to do to me from 5 years from there? I mean, that's how I'm looking at this. Is okay. That's the extra whack that I'm going to need upside the head to be able to stop the fall. In businesses, in life, and we see this from I'll just have one more beer kind of thing. A lot of people have said that before. That's critical decision making. What's that one more beer going to do? Is it the right? Take the pause. I know that's getting a little bit on the, call it religious side, if you will, but it's an example. It's just another example. So I love the direction this went today. If you could leave the audience with like one more quick hack to go, how to stop the bad decision. Give us one more quick one.
Hold your breath.
Hold your breath. Mo Robbins, 5 second rule. You could use that right there.
Your breath. I'm telling you, it works every time.
There you go.
All of a sudden, you're thinking fight or flight on something else besides the problem at hand. That's the hack right there.
That's the hack. Hold your breath. Michael, awesome as always. Remember, this weekend's the conference right here up in the corner. There we go, pointing a little bit better. Scan the QR code. Go to total-disruption.com. Come check out the conference. If you can't be there live, subscribe, guys. Show up, get all the stuff and the things. We want you part of the community. Mike, it's been awesome as always.
Thank you, Jake.